Okay, I am back for this Monday's Ask Heather Ash. So this is a live video that we do on Facebook once a week on the Warrior Goddess Women page. And it's a place where you get to ask any questions that you want. So I am broadcasting live from Woodstock, New York today. And let me pull the questions up. We had a couple great questions from last week that I didn't get to answer. So I'm excited to answer this one today. So I'm going to share what that question is. I'll just wait a couple minutes to see who else joins us, since I just had to get off my phone and get back on the my computer, because this works much better. Oh, and let me grab my headphones. Perfect. No, these ones won't work. Hey, Jennifer, welcome. All right, headphones in tow. So, hey, Valerie. Hey, Naomi, welcome. So right now I'm getting to juggle because I am living in a campground that doesn't have electricity, which means that when I come into town, I have to find places to plug in. So happy the bookstore that I've been, or the coffee shop that I've been hanging out most of the days, is closed, but they have a plug outside. It's so exciting. Hey, Deb. So welcome, Ginger, Naomi, Valerie, Jennifer. So glad to have you here. And we've got a pretty good light, pretty good background. That's nice. Love it. So we have a great question from last week that I didn't get to answer. And so I'll share that. Hey, Tara. And so let me go ahead and I'm just going to write, this is a question from last week. All right. So this is going to be a good, juicy topic. So the question is, I've had someone in a work situation who wanted the reaction of guilt and shame from me when I made a mistake. And when I didn't do that, she told my supervisor I was flippant. Luckily, my supervisor checked in with me and didn't assume that was true. What would you do if someone in power interpreted your freedom from guilt as not responding enough? Such a great question. I get in trouble all the time for being detached. Well, not trouble, just something you need to work on. People are funny when they don't get the reaction, the emotional reaction out of you. Hi, Patty. Hey, Melissa. So there is something that we call the dream of the planet. So the dream of the planet is the way that all humans right now, or most humans, I should say, right now, are in relationship with themselves and with the world. And the dream of the planet's really mostly based in fear right now, fear and scarcity. And you can look at just the news to see that reflection. And part of the dream of the planet is that a big part of what we're fed on is drama. So if you think about soap operas, if you think about reality TV, a lot of the stimulation is around drama, is around emotion, is around having reactions to things. And that's what makes people feel alive. So gossip. So yeah, you're so welcome, Melissa. Happy to address this. So what you'll find is that as you start reacting less, as you start becoming more detached, as you start becoming more centered inside of yourself, especially if you've been in situations where you've been involved in the drama or you've been involved in the gossip, and then you start not doing that. But even if you go into a new situation and you just don't play the way that most everybody else's play, people can start getting upset because they can feel like, as the woman who shared the question, that you're detached, that you're not responding properly, that you're not taking it seriously, whereas the truth is it's just not affecting you the same way. And in your integrity, you don't have a big reaction about it. That's just the truth. Okay, so that's your truth. Now, interacting with other humans means that you get to make a decision of how you want to bridge with other humans. And that's how I think of it, is that you're bridging with other people. So I'll share a personal story. Hey, Christine. Hey, Lisa. Hey, Teresa. A personal story. Hey, Alicia. Siski and Patty. So many years ago, a decade ago, I was living with my parents in Hong Kong. And I went there to work, and they had an apartment there. And so I was living with them for the summer. And at that time, I had a friend who shared something really tender for her. And what she shared was that because of the stock market, the stocks had crashed and she had lost all this money. And at the time, I was doing a lot of the Toltec work. I was really detaching from the world in a big way. And so my response to my friend was to laugh. And what I said was, isn't it weird how one day you can have money and the next day you don't have money? Like, isn't that a weird thing? And I could see from the reaction on her face that was not the correct response. Now, that's what my reaction was, but it didn't create a bridge between her and myself. It created a wall because she felt not seen, she felt dismissed, she felt like I didn't care about her. And I learned a really important lesson that day, that in relationships, you want to be really clear, whether it's a work relationship or an intimate relationship or a friendship. What is your intent with the relationship? So an example, your intent at work might be to get your job done as efficiently as possible. Or your intent at work might be to work well with your coworkers so that you work as a team. Or your intent at work might be to deepen your relationship with your boss. So you can see that the intent can be really different for different relationships and for where you're at. If you have a situation where a coworker feels dismissed, not heard, upset, because you're speaking your truth, you're at choice to do what we call control folly. Okay, this is a really advanced teaching, but I'm so happy to share it with you. So control folly means that you understand not everybody's dreaming the same way, and that you feel into how do you respond to somebody in a way that you're creating a bridge with them. I'm giving you the teeniest part of control folly. It's a much bigger conversation. But in this case, if you know you have a coworker that needs to be seen or recognized in a particular way, you can have your reaction and then you can say whatever you want in order to make the communication so that they can hear it. And that might be pretending like you're afraid or being upset, even though you're not really upset. Okay. So why it's called control folly is because you recognize that everything that we do has no meaning, and that the ways that we interact with other people, we want to be truthful and honest, and we also want to recognize that sometimes we want to create bridges with other people, and our response is not going to create a bridge, it's going to create a break. So I hope this helps. Again, super advanced teaching that I'm just jumping in with all of you, and this is a tiny part of control folly. And sometimes people get confused because they're like, well, isn't that lying? It's not lying, it's translating. It's basically translating. So just like you would translate to a different language, some people can't hear particular things. There was a whole book around men are from Mars, women are from Venus. And parts of it were very patriarchal, we can say, or very black and white. So I don't believe that men are from Mars and women are from Venus, that we're that different. But it did point out a lot of really important things around we communicate differently. Humans communicate differently, not just men and women. You're going to find men that are much more feeling oriented and women that are much more logical oriented. And for me, this is what we talk about warrior goddess. So you may not be able to have a warrior conversation with one of your friends because she is much more, let's say, or he is much more goddess oriented, and you going in and being really clear and direct just upsets them. Okay, so is it not being truthful to shift how you're presenting yourself? No, it's just translating to a different language. Okay, so that's something that you can be mindful of at work as well as in your life. Let me know if that makes sense or if you have more clarifying questions around it. Okay. And then any other questions? Again, our first question that came from last week was around somebody that was in a work situation that the person wanted them to react with guilt or shame when they made a mistake, and they didn't, and so the person felt not heard or not seen. Naomi, absolutely. There have been messages I couldn't hear until an internal shift happened and my innate language changed. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, beautiful. So that place of learning how to communicate and translating to a different language, that's beautiful. I always thought I was deceiving if I did that. Nope, you're learning how to translate. What's most important, sometimes, so my dear mentor and friend Don Miguel Ruiz, who wrote the 4 agreements, the first agreement is be impeccable with your word. And sometimes people have taken that incredibly literally, which is, if I'm being impeccable with my word, then I am always saying exactly what I think all the time. Oh my God, can you imagine what a disaster that would be if all of us walked around saying exactly what we were thinking and how we were judging people or ourselves or, being victimized? I mean, it would be a nightmare. But, thank you. I'll go check Christine's question out. What he's really talking about is being impeccable with your word starts with being impeccable with yourself. What's your truth? What's true for you? That's what's critical, is being impeccable with your word to yourself and then being impeccable with other people. And part of that impeccability, I believe, is about learning to translate so that you're actually communicating. Beautiful, Lisa. We were going to talk about the rituals to center yourself throughout the day. Thank you. Okay, so let me pick back up Christine's question, and then I will go to the rituals. How do you begin to set boundaries with people that you have known for a long time, like family? Another great question. So one thing that you can do is, what can help? It's still probably going to be challenging because, again, if you're in family situations where people are familiar with you being a certain way and then you suddenly shift, it can be really jarring for people and they don't understand what's happening. So what can help is to sit people down individually or even as a group, but really get your heart open and get clear about what you want to communicate to them. And then to say, to start saying why you're going to set the boundaries. And you don't have to say, I'm setting boundaries because da 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 da. But what you can say is, and what I found what often works is to lead with vulnerability. So what are you scared about? So let's say that you're having a conversation with your mother. And you've always, I'm just going to make stuff up, that you've always, every time she texts, you always answer. Or anytime she needs anything, you always answer. So you would, if you can do it in person, it's the best, is to sit down and say, I'm going through some shifts right now, and I'm nervous to share this with you because I don't want you to think I don't love you and that I don't care about you. So if you've got a deep inside of yourself, or what's your fear? What's going on inside of you around it? And then to say, and I realized that I need to make some shifts for myself. And that part of that's going to be da-da-da-da-da-da. So you share about it. And you can share just what how you arrived at it, what your process is, so that you're not just saying this is changing, you're opening yourself to show your process around it. Now, you're not doing this for them to understand, for them to like it. You're just being transparent as you can. And they might argue, they might say, I don't like it. And you can say, I understand that this might feel scary, or you might be upset by this, but this is really important to me, period. You don't have to defend, you don't have to explain any more than that. But then they have a bigger context around why you're making the changes that you're making, and that can help to smooth the transition. Okay, doesn't mean it's necessarily going to be easy, because it can be challenging with family when we're making shifts with them. All right. Remember that when you practice doing boundaries out of love, even if they're taking it as from a place of upset, if you stay open-hearted with them, over time, I've seen people will come online with you and will really see they're not, you're not shutting them out because of you don't love them. You're making a choice for yourself. Okay, so I hope that helps. And then Lisa reminded me we're going to talk about rituals to center yourself throughout the day. So one of the questions last week was what to do when you get knocked off course during your day, when you feel centered, when you wake up. So maybe you have your morning meditation, you have your cup of coffee, you feel super centered, and then you get to work and you get totally thrown off base. What do you do? And my response was to do rituals throughout the day to come back to center. That this idea of centering ourselves, especially when you're in challenging work situations or family situations, mean that you get to center yourself over and over and over again. So for example, then you can build them in. So a ritual is just something that you do to honor a transition and to become more mindful, to go into a ceremony or a ritual space. And it can be super simple. So a ritual might be every time you go into your office and you sit down, that before you pick up the phone, answer an email, you close your eyes, take a breath, center, and then answer the email or then have the interaction with somebody. And you can even set your timer, so your timer goes off every half hour. And that every half hour, close your eyes, take a breath, center again. That's going to be part of your ritual. Or every time you go to the bathroom, or every time you change spaces. So if you move a lot throughout your day for your work, look at where are the places that there are either breaks during your day or places you can make a break where you do something over and over and over to center yourself. That's why a lot of times I wear jewelry, specific jewelry, to remind me. So like my warrior goddess necklace, every time I look in the mirror, and I adjust my chain, every time I look in the mirror, that reminds me, how's my warrior goddess energy? Is it balanced? And that gives me a reminder to check in. Okay, I also have a warrior goddess bracelet. I'm not wearing it right now, but I wear it most days. And again, that just reminds me. So something like jewelry, a picture in your office, something that you do like every time you go to the bathroom or every time you drink a drink of water. What's your centering? Great. So we have a couple more questions and it's already been 20 minutes. So I'm going to take 2 minutes to answer this. Thank you, Tara. And if you could grab those and send them to me, Tara, you can post them here. I'm saving everything, so next Monday I'll do a deeper dive into these questions. So the first question, my son can't land a job 1 year past college graduation with a chemical engineering degree. I'm trying not to interfere, but want him to be independent. How can I best help him? So I'll answer more next week, but what I'll say is the best way you can help him is ask him directly, what do you need for support? Is there anything that I can do? So go to him and ask him without without pushing, but just say, I know this is really challenging. And you can even share, if you have a story of a time when you couldn't find a job or a friend couldn't find a job, like part of what he needs is to understand it's not just him, it's a challenging time for college graduates. Okay, so if you have a story in your own life or somebody that you know, to share that story and to say, is there anything that I can do to help you? I'm here for you, whatever you need. And say, I'm willing to brainstorm with you. I'm willing to call people. I'm willing to just listen to your frustration. What do you need? And then see what he brings back to you, okay? The best thing you can do is hold positive energy that he will get a job. And keep holding that and letting him know you have faith in him, you trust him, you know that he'll find it, so that he's empowered to continue to look, because it's hard. It can be really challenging. Okay. All right, so we have another question on taking things personally. I'm going to answer that next week, so please tune in again for Ask Heather Ash next Monday at 4:30 California time, 7:30 New York time. Like, where am I? 4:30, 7:30 New York time, and I'll answer your questions. I'm also starting to upload all the videos to YouTube, so you can go back and look at previous answers, and we're cataloging the different questions that got asked that week. All right, so thanks everyone for joining me. Much, much love to each of you. Really grateful to be able to share a little bit with each of you. Thanks for your questions, and take good care of yourselves. Bye-bye.